He is joining me hour number 2. Got a lot today. Rich Paul will be joining us in studio last hour. He is LeBron's agent. I have a million questions to ask. Some are obvious, some not so obvious. What is it like being the agent for the most powerful American sports athlete in the most star-driven professional league in America, the NBA? So I'm very, very interested.
How did that come about?
I don't know. I know this. I got to be, how do I say this? I know people in LeBron's camp. I'm friends with one person in LeBron's camp, Maverick Carter. And I think I met Rich Paul. I've met multiple people in LeBron's camp through the years, and they know they see me as somebody who is supportive, at least some of the times. Not everybody.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the best basketball player in the. I think he's the second best basketball player I've ever seen in my life, and I love the NBA. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I used to have a journalism professor, and he used to have a line. He said, "Ooh, Bowles, you had journalism professors and all that stuff, and he used to always say, you can you can attract more bees with honey than vinegar." And he says, if you're a journalist or if you work in this space, sending a bottle of wine is not the world's worst thing to do. And so I think the LeBron camp sees me as fair, and so we can pull stuff like this off.
Maybe so you sent Rich Paul a bottle of wine?
I did not, but I've done that before. By the way, to sources, you have probably too, right?
You know what's interesting though is now if you take an ethics thing or like you join a company, they make you take this HR thing. It says you cannot do that. You cannot send gifts to sources if you're like a real journalist.
Is that what they say at those journalism classes?
No, I mean, my last deal was with, I worked for CBS.
Yeah.
And I had to take this whole thing that said I agreed that I would never send gifts to sources or accept gifts.
No, I don't accept gifts from sources. That I don't.
Well, you don't accept gifts from anybody.
No, that's true.
So.
That's funny. Yeah, you're right. Let me talk about this for a second, talking about LeBron. Being second place, in America, we're a very competitive place. We're number one this, number one that, number one this, number one that. That's fine. I love America. I'm a competitive guy. But there's a lot of happy Canadians in the world, too, and they don't beat us on much. The Olympics, there's 1,000 countries that go to the Olympics. They all realize they are never going to beat us in the medal count. And they're not going to beat Germany, and they're not going to beat China, and they're not going to beat Russia, and they're not going to. Should Greece, therefore, not go to the Olympics? Second place, it's okay. It's really okay. There's a lot of happy people that have had very great lives working at Pepsi and not Coke. There's 369 Division I college basketball programs. Every year, Jay Billis told me this once, it's completely true. About 8 every year can win it. That's it. And you can name most of the 8. Kansas, Syracuse, Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State. Okay. Second place, I know I'm an American. This goes against all of our beliefs. You have to win at everything. But many companies that I invest in as through my stockbroker, right, are not in America. I've got as much money now in emerging funds as I do in American funds. My car, the parts it's at, they may be from here. Maybe they're not. I'm not sure where my lug nuts are all from in my car. That we're a big global community, and it's okay finishing second. And one of the things I have seen in my life, in my business and in other businesses, is people overreact to a dominant number one. And Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, and LeBron have created unnecessary risk in their respective locations. Tom Brady, since he became a quarterback, there have been 45 AFC East quarterbacks. Buffalo, Jets, Miami. Christine, that's just 3 teams. 45. Another one this morning, Tyrod Taylor, the best quarterback they have, was ridiculously benched. Nick Saban, since he got into the SEC has hired 41 coaches. By the way, Mark Richt left. Nobody in the SEC hired him. Mark Richt had a winning bowl record. In fact, a better bowl record percentage-wise than Nick Saban. Was winning 9 to 10 games a year. Nobody in the SEC hired him because he couldn't beat Nick Saban. Who the hell's beating Nick Saban? Les Miles was winning 9 and 10 a year. Had a winning bowl record. His percentage better than Saban. had beaten Saban, had won a national title. Nobody else hired him. But Butch Jones has a gig? Come on now. And LeBron James, Christine, this is since the decision. This doesn't even count when he first got in the league. Since the decision, the NBA Eastern Conference has had 50 head coaches. Don't overreact. I see this with Netflix. People making bad decisions in TV, overreacting. I see this in Amazon, what they're doing to retail. I see this with McDonald's, what burger joints and taco places do. Oh, my God. No. McDonald's was first in. They're the king. Saban's the king. LeBron's the king. Brady's the king. There is no great shame in losing to an all-time great. Dominance creates chaos because of unnecessary risks. The Orlando Magic, they got a sniff of beating LeBron early once. Remember that when they won that series against LeBron early, Stan Van Gundy? And because they couldn't beat him after that, they fired Stan Van Gundy, one of the 5 best coaches in the NBA. What happened to the guy they hired after Stan left? They fired him. What happened to the next guy? They fired him. They're now in their 3rd coach. The reason you didn't beat LeBron is because he was getting better and better and better, and you didn't have anything sniffing LeBron. That's not Stan Van Gundy's fault. The Bulls did this to Tom Thibodeau. He's the problem. Today, Tom Thibodeau is winning, and the Chicago Bulls are an absolute mess. That I have seen this now in 3 different examples. The Buffalo Bills benched the best quarterback they have on the roster, Tyrod Taylor. Why? Because of New England. That's why the Jets keep running through GMs and coaches and quarterbacks. It's why the SEC keeps firing good coaches. Les Miles is a good football coach. Mark Richt is a really good football coach. Mark Richt now? Look at Mark Richt's program. Look at the 7 universities in the SEC that are either going to fire their AD, their head football coach, or both in the next couple of months. All right, let's talk about the college football playoff. So my former employer unveiled that. The committee unveiled that last night. And we have the top 10. By and large, I like the messaging the college football committee sent, which is it is okay if you have a couple of losses. We still think you're eligible for the national championship. There is one thing here which I don't think they did their homework on. Let me just say this. I can love something like a classic car, but not want to own it. You ever seen like a 1967 Mustang drive by as a guy, a muscle car? You're like, oh, my God, I love that car. I don't want to own it. I don't want to have to roll up my windows. You know, I can love something like the Brookstone catalog and not want to buy anything in the Brookstone catalog. Look at, Google it, check it out. There's a million things in that catalog. The Talking Football, I'm not interested. But I can love something, but I don't want to necessarily I don't have to be all in on it. I love what the Miami Hurricanes have done. I'm a huge fan of Mark Richt. I love the city of Miami. I've been a Canes fan for a long time. I miss them being a dominant program. But Miami should not be ahead of Oklahoma. Miami hasn't played a decent road team yet. Either is Auburn and won, and either has Wisconsin. Auburn played them and lost. Do you realize right now Miami of Ohio averages more yards on the road than the Miami Hurricanes? Do you realize that Georgia State averages more yards on the road than Georgia? My point is, I don't care what you've done in college football with 19-year-olds until you go on the road. Miami hasn't played well on the road. They're averaging significantly fewer yards on the road. Georgia's a great example. Georgia averages 470 yards a game at home. They played 2 teams on the road that were good, Notre Dame and Auburn. Combined, they got 550 yards. Oklahoma has gone on the road, and you never see this in college football. You never see this, that Oklahoma's gone on the road. Now remember, Notre Dame just went on the road. Their offense was left at home. Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, Auburn, Bama, Miami have gone on the road, and like all college programs, the offense disappears. Not the same team. Oklahoma's gone on the road and got 500 yards in a blowout win at Ohio State, Then they went on the road at Oklahoma State and got nearly 800 yards. Defense always travels in college football. Offense doesn't, because offense is about a 19-year-old quarterback who can't hear the audible, who's overwhelmed. Offense travels in the NFL because you have grown men. Offense in college doesn't. What Oklahoma's done is really stupendously impressive. They are every bit as good. Offense, home or away. Georgia's not, Miami's not, Notre Dame's not, Penn State's not, Auburn's not. They're not. Georgia's not the same football team with that true freshman quarterback away from Georgia. So I can love the 1967 Mustang. I don't want to own it. I can love this Miami story. That's where the committee whiffed. They should not be ahead of Oklahoma. Joey Galloway last night in the College Football Playoff show, he didn't like it either.
Got the fourth
if I'm
spot.
Oklahoma sitting at number 4, I'm a little upset right now.
But if
you look at their resume, though, with wins against TCU, Oklahoma State, and on the road against Ohio State in Columbus, they went on the road to beat Oklahoma State.
That's 3 wins, teams in the top 13 or 14.
Two on the road. If I'm Oklahoma, I'm a little upset right now that I'm not a little higher. Although, you're fine at number 4, but I would like to be higher.
That's all I'm saying. College football is different than the NFL. In the NFL, last week alone, the Saints went on the road, best game of the year. Patriots on the road, best game of the year. Rams have gone on the road, best game of the year. Never happens in college. College offenses evaporate away from home against good competition and big, loud crowds. What Oklahoma's done, take notice. That don't happen much. That doesn't happen much in college sports. By the way, next hour, Rich Paul, LeBron's agent, and the most honest man in college football. That's coming up next hour. Want to drink wines like a millionaire, but don't want to pay the price? Totally get that. That's where Cameron Hughes Wine comes in. This is their business model. They find quality wines in Napa. $50 bottles for $15. Needle in a haystack business. Luxury wines at affordable prices. And they guarantee all their wines. Right now, Cameron Hughes Wines is offering you something that is a massive savings. Wine to ship it is really, really heavy. Cameron Hughes Wine, if you buy 3 or more bottles, the more you buy, the more you save, they will pay for the shipping. That is a huge discount. Plus a free sommelier-grade corkscrew. Cameron Hughes Wine. Go to chwine.com, code HERD. chwine.com, got some myself, code HERD.